Dead Ghana politicians in luxury graves condemned. For some time now in Ghana, I don't know what craze has caught up with the people. All over the internet, all over social media, if you are not seeing a young man who died and they are trying to portray his career in all the wrong ways. For instance, recently we saw a coconut seller die. And as part of the funeral rites, we saw him laid in state, sitting down with coconuts used to hit his head. We saw the other day a barber die right here in Ghana. And they sat this man in state. They didn't lay him in state. And another barber was trying to shave his head. In another video, the dead man had some kind of machine in his hand to clip hair. My brother, my sister, in some cases, we see fishermen put in canoes, dead fishermen. And at the funeral, people cry and dance. For me, it's a mockery of the dead. And we don't show the dead any respect. What happened to Ghana? In the days when we revere the dead, in the days when we showed so much respect to the dead, especially those who led a very good life. When I was growing up as a little boy, in fact, we feared death as little children. If a man died in a house 200 meters away, we were always scared to even go around the area, especially in the night. But today, it looks like people play with the dead. They mock the dead and do a whole lot of things. But there is more. When it comes to politicians in Ghana, after stealing our money whilst they were with us here alive, when they die, it looks like we try to magnificently portray them as great human beings. We lay them in state exorbitantly. We drive all the fast cars around them, parade all their wealth, and then we bury them in exotic graves. My brother, my sister, people have started condemning this. I'm going to take you through a list of politicians or people related to politicians who died recently and the kind of graves they were buried in and what came out of that. Come here. Now, the very first one I would like to look at, Sir John. Sir John was a dirty politician who stole from us. He belonged to the NPP. He was the director of the forests of Ghana. You could call it forestry. And whilst he was alive, he stole from the people of Ghana. He had land allocated to himself in Ramsar sites. Sites that were reserved for the nation in forest reserves. Sir John had a way of twisting the laws, breaking the arms of the laws, and allocating those pieces of land to himself. In his will, he reallocated those forbidden lands reserved for the nation, specially to his family and friends. This is Sir John. He used to live in London. He came to Ghana, and we all hoped that he was going to use his intellect to help Ghana. But he rather went into a stealing spree. And when he died from COVID, you know what they did? They carried him all the way to his hometown in an helicopter. In fact, helicopters hovered around the funeral place. One was where he was sent to. And they gave him a burial that looked like it was a burial reserved for kings and people of honor. Did they forget that he was a common thief? Did they forget that even in death, he was still stealing our land? Look at where Sir John was buried. And it's a shocker. Look at it. Look at where Sir John was buried. He died from COVID-19 in the days of COVID after stealing our land, stealing from the people of Ghana, engaged in illegal mining, aka Galamsey, Look where Sir John was buried. My brother, my sister, in an area that still has issues with accommodation. In an area where the people are so much backward in terms of material things and even beyond. That was where Sir John was buried. Dash it away. My brother, my sister, Sir John was buried there. A whole house, a dead carcass was put in there. Sadly, when he died, and people knew he died from COVID, his body was still being tossed around. People were touching each other, and the whole funeral ground was packed with tens of thousands of people, still in the days of COVID. No face masks were worn. People were free to touch each other, left, right, and center. Only God knows how many people followed Sir John to his grave, having contracted COVID-19 at his burial. His grave is still at Wonwo, a very huge grave, my brother, my sister, for one carcass. Come here. My brother, my sister, the next person in the line, let us go straight and talk about this other person who died, the wife of the president of Ghana, a former president, John Agyekum Kufuor. This pretty woman was a nurse, a trained nurse, very honorable woman, beautiful by all standards. She stood by her husband. I remember an interview she granted after casting her vote. And she seemed to be angry that she was almost asked who she voted for and who she expected to win. I remember that interview like yesterday. She was an honorable woman. She tried as much as possible to stay away from the focus lights of politics in Ghana. But because her husband was a politician and maybe a very big member of the Freemason, her name came in and out of the media space every now and then. This is the woman we are talking about. A very beautiful woman. My brother, my sister, she died. And when she died, she was buried in a house that we are told cost about $1 million American dollars. And that house was built for the former president by a businessman. This is the house we're talking about. Look at it. On the hill, my brother, my sister. And when you go into the house and see how exotic, how beautiful this house is, you would ask yourself, woo, what a house. This was where we are told she was buried. And this house was built for the former president by a businessman right here in Ghana, owner of Angel Broadcasting, my brother, my sister network. This is the house built on the hill, and that's her final resting place, we are told. Dash it away. Number 3, let us go straight and talk about another man who died and was buried in a very huge grave. And Ghanaians were shocked. He was a man of God. Brother, my sister, how many people remember this man of God? He had his church right after Wager, going after the bridge and the toll booth. His church was located right on the left on your way to Kaswa. He had a beautiful church. He was an astute man of God who was also doubling as a politician, because he was a man who didn't hide his political colors. He was an NPP man, and he loved NPP. He prophesied several times for the sitting president, even before he became president. And I'm talking about Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. This man of God here called Pastor Anthony Bishop Anthony, whatever title you want to give to him, had buses that carried his followers to the church. Oh my God. Many were those who believed that he had so much powers until he was hit by a stroke. And when the stroke hit him, many were those who couldn't believe it. But he came back to church, having recovered somewhat. When he came to church, he told his church members that the devil was trying to take him away and that he actually died. But because of the power of the anointing God gave him, he had resurrected from the dead. He was in a very big feud with his wife over ownership of the church around that time. And he came out on social media to denounce his wife and say, hey, this woman wants me to die so she can take over my church. This same man of God, Pastor Anthony, Bishop Anthony, Archbishop Anthony, Reverend Anthony, any title you want to give to him. This man here, a few days after he went to the church, he broadcast to his church members on social media that God had told him they should buy him a white car. The church must buy him a white car, and he will ride that white car to the church. He died a few days after. And when he died, many were those who came to the realism that yes, every man will die. It doesn't matter how anointed you are. The president of the republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was at his funeral. He went there in pomp and pageantry. We are told that so much money was voted into the funeral by the sitting president. And look at where he was buried. Look at where he was buried. A man who was politically affiliated. He had the support of politicians. He was a man of God, yes. Look where he was buried. And when you compare this to the church building itself, you would ask yourself, it looks like we are more interested in the dead than the living. This was where he was buried. Go and look at the church building. See the cracks in the walls. Look where he was buried. My brother, my sister, dash this man away. Now the next person we want to look at was a former deputy finance minister, John Kuma. John Kuma became ill. In fact, many were those who knew what sickness he had. He struggled through it. His wife is also a woman of God, a prophetess, who has a church on the Wager Junction. My brother, my sister, John Kuma died. Another member of the NPP. When he died, oh Lord, there was a by-election in this area. A Jusu area there. And then he was buried. Look at where he was buried. Natives of Ejusu mistook the place to be a boutique. When they were passing by and they saw the building, they thought that it was a boutique. Look at it. That was where John Kuma was buried. That's it. My brother, my sister, exotic in a country that struggles with accommodation. A country that has a lot of street children sleeping out there. Politicians seem to be so interested in being buried in exoticness. That is the grave of the mighty John Kuma. Finally, dash him away. And come here. Finally, recently we lost another MP. He was called Nkrumah. In fact, he had strived so hard to become a lawyer. He died. A few days later, it came out that he had qualified to be called a lawyer. Even his going into the parliament space was very controversial. At a point, they had to chase him in the parliament house. In fact, with court documents, summoning him to court. Yes, he was chased All the time, he carried himself as an MP. He never got to enjoy his position as an MP. He died. And when he died, his family came out to say it was because of tormentation from his own party and the ruling party. He didn't have a peace of mind. He died. So the family decided to give him a peace of mind by burying him in a very exotic grave. They said he was building this house before he died. He wanted to move in there with his family. It's a mansion, a beautiful house. But he didn't get to move into the house before he died. So they had to move his dead body in there. So Nkrumah is buried in this house, as we are told. And you will see his photos all over the grave. My brother, my sister, 5 people, politicians, or people with political affiliations, heavy doses of political affiliation, buried like this. Ghana, all of a sudden, has developed a strong penchant for honoring the dead more than the living. But I have news for you. Now, all the people who were buried in these houses and not in cemeteries, did they seek permission from the government authorities to do this? In the 19th century, in England, people were dying in their droves. You know why? Because dead bodies were buried improperly. According to our laws in Ghana and established laws, every burial must be at least 1.5 meters above the water table. And it must also be at least 30 meters away from every source of water. Do we look at that? Now, when you bury a human being, especially in a shallow grave, the body starts to rot. And when it does start to rot, it releases fluids which are injurious to the environment. When these bodies get in contact with water, they might spread into our water sources, and when we drink this water, we might get gastrointestinal diseases. Some of us might even die summarily, depending on what killed these people that we buried. That is why it's not by chance we have to bury people in cemeteries. And before every burial, we must bring specialists, experts, to look at the grave size and the depth of the grave, having been very sure that these places are far away from water sources and, of course, higher than the water table. Are we looking at this? Now, it's not by chance dead people have to go to cemeteries. Now we are burying people in where human beings live. Is that not a danger to human life? Are we thinking about this? What are the laws in Ghana? Are they being tightened up, executed, administered to the letter? If we are not careful, very soon, prostitutes are going to be buried in penis coffins, and they will be stripped naked for human beings to come and have sex with them in order to, in quotes, honor them and their prostitution. We have already started seeing dead mechanics who are given motorbikes to sit on, even in death, to make a mockery of a certain celebration of them. Why is it that our culture seems to love dead people than the living ones? Dead Ghanaian politicians in luxury graves, whilst there are a lot of youth who are walking on the streets there with nowhere to lay their head. Many would ask me, Kwame Nkrumah is in a very beautiful grave. What do you say about that? Come here. Yes. Kwame Nkrumah's mausoleum You can call it a graveyard. Has more than just a grave. That's one. And two, it's an economic site. How many people will leave America, England, Japan, Korea to come and look at the grave of Sir John? Even people in Wonowo. How many of them will get up and intentionally say they are going to the grave of Sir John? If anything at all, they are going there to hide and do a quickie at night, but not to honor any such person. How many people will get up and intentionally go to visit the graves of all the other people? But many shall come from all walks of life to visit the grave of Kwame Nkrumah. It brings money to us as a people. It honors our founder in one way or the other. Remember, it's a business entity, and at the same time, it's honorary for the people of Ghana. Nkrumah is actually making us rich even in there. Maybe if he was here, he would have told us, I don't need this grave. After all, he didn't even own a house when he was alive. Why should he own one when he's dead? If Ghanaians have decided to put him in one, then it's because of the benefits we stand to get, not him. It's the Blakk Pot, aka Kukushonemo. And here we speak truth to power.